So guys, today I'm here with my complete new player's guide to Destiny Rising. Although the game itself does do a great job of introducing new players to all of the key systems and introducing them slowly over time, I do feel like still a new player's guide is needed, as there are still a couple things that are a bit unexplained or not explained too well in this game that I'm going to be showcasing here today. We're also going to go over some other things that the game itself does introduce you to very well, like alternate game modes that you unlock through doing the main story, how you should be progressing through the game when you first start out, and what tips I have for end game players. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. Do you guys want to play Destiny Rising but don't want to play it on your small outdated phone that could easily overheat or run out of battery life at any minute? Well, look no further than the Mumu Player Emulator, easily the best Android emulator for playing mobile games on your PC. This emulator is not only free to use but is also super easy to download, comes completely ad-free with easy to set up keyboard and mouse controls for precise FPS gameplay, but also insanely high frame rates going upwards of 120 frames per second. And is also the official emulator for Destiny Rising, made by NetEase themselves. So if you want to play Destiny Rising at its best, click on the exclusive link in the description of this video to download the free and ad-free Mumu Player Emulator. And thank you once again to NetEase for sponsoring this video. So without any further ado, let's just jump straight in with the first main tip here. When you first load into the game, you're of course going to be thrown into a main story mission, and that's going to end with you unlocking the Haven social space. Then you'll mainly be tasked with going and completing the side objectives that you have listed on the right hand side of your main ghost screen, which I'm going to call the screen where you pull out your ghost and you have a whole load of different menus and objectives to go and complete. The stuff on the right hand side of the screen is going to be your main story or guide, so to speak, for how to get through the main campaign of this game, as each section of the campaign is split between a main story mission and then going off and doing side things like unlocking brand new game modes and also doing maybe some side questing or leveling up some characters. So basically just follow the right hand side menu there until it has literally nothing else for you to go and do, and just by doing that you should be able to get very far through the campaign. Alongside that, the team level cap should be completely redundant now, because before, when the game first launched, every day the level cap would increase, but now that the level cap is set to just 80, you should be able to just get through the entire Destiny Rising campaign without many interruptions. The only interruption that you might run into is of course the Pinnacle Energy resource, which is what you need in order to level up specific characters, and Pinnacle Energy is going to be easily the biggest roadblock here, as spending it incorrectly can really limit how much you actually progress in a given day. Now, speaking of Pinnacle Energy, let's just guide you through the main activities that I would recommend you spend your Pinnacle Energy on when first starting out. So if we go to the activities menu, this is where every game mode can be found and where your Pinnacle Energy can be spent. Now if you head over to Adventure, there's going to be a whole load of game modes here, like Haven Ops, which holds your strikes as well as Calamity Ops. Then you have Realm of the Nine, which is your Xur themed game mode. You then have Gauntlet Ops, which is more endgame focused, Legendary Campaign, which is definitely endgame focused, and challenge mode, which is 100% endgame focused, and Morgan's Prey and Legacy. Legacy is where I recommend at the very beginning where you start spending your Pinnacle Energy, because you're going to be getting a resource known as Incandescent Tufts. This is a material used to level up your individual characters, and every character uses this resource. The same goes for Incandescent Ribbons, which is a legendary version of the same material. This is going to be a very important material early on, so I highly recommend the first couple of days energy be spent on this material. Alongside that, Morgan's Prey is where you're going to be getting a whole load of enhancement prisms. These prisms are used to upgrade your different weapons, and you can see that there are 4 different types of prisms. You have your spread prisms, your rapid fire prisms, your piercing prisms, and your impact prisms. Each of these prism types is designated to a different type of weapon. So your impact prisms here are used for fusion rifles, shotguns, swords, and sidearms. Piercing is for scout rifles, linear fusion rifles, hand cannons, snipers, and bows. You get the idea. So getting a lot of this material is going to be very helpful for just leveling up your weapons as well as your characters. Also, one major thing to note is that only certain characters can use certain weapons. So for example, on my Estella right now, she can only use pulse rifles and machine guns. So if you run into a event going on at the moment where you can select a certain weapon type for free, I highly recommend that you pick the weapons that you actually have the characters that can use them. There's no point picking a machine gun if you have no character that can use a machine gun. You get the idea. Now, alongside the incandescent tufts material from the legacy game mode and the enhancement prisms for Morgan's Prey, as you get later into the game, Legacy will actually get updated with a Void, Arc, and Solar mode. This is going to be granting you a new material called Crackling Incandescent Sheaths. These come in 3 different types, your Arc, Solar, and Void types. Now, these different types are used for leveling up different elemental aligned characters. So for your Arc-based characters like Ningfei and Atal, you're going to need Arc Incandescent Sheaths. For your Void characters like Jolder and Yumeko, you're going to need your Warped Incandescent Sheaths, and for your Solar characters like Tantu and Estella, you're going to need your Burning Incandescent Sheaths. Now, as you can see, you do get all of them from going into the different game modes, but if you go into the Solar mode, you're going to be getting primarily more Solar Sheaths, and then you'll get a little bit of Void and Arc as well, which is quite nice, but definitely be focusing on the characters that you need to level up. And the main character that I suggest you guys always level up at the beginning of the game and throughout the main story is going to be Wolf, as they are the mandatory character needed to go through the main story. Plus, through the events right now, you're going to be getting a free exotic weapon called the Sati Elixni Smart Bomb, and you should get enough materials in order to basically max out this weapon for absolutely free. So he is definitely a great character to level up, and is probably the best 4-star in the game right now, and is completely free, so it's definitely worth leveling Wolf up. Alongside that, I would highly recommend leveling up a Void and an Arc character as well, just so that you have your elements covered. And it just so happens that through just going through the main story, you will unlock the 4-star character Kabir, who is an Arc Titan based character, and the Void Warlock character Ikora for completely free. Now that said, these 2 characters in my opinion aren't the greatest for their specific elements, but they will get you through the designated content. Whilst Kabir is very, very good, there are some other Arc characters that I personally prefer, like Atal or Ningfei. If you are lucky enough to get a 5-star character, at the moment those being Ningfei, Jolder, Tantu, Gwen, or Estella, I would highly suggest leveling those characters up alongside your Wolf as main priorities. If you do not have any other 5-star characters, mainly stick with Wolf and then an Arc and Void character of your choice. Next, let's go over to the other game modes that we'll be unlocking through the main story. This is going to be a very important one, Realm of the Nine. You're going to have Singularity Order and Singularity Chaos as the main introductory modes, and you'll get the Expanse a little bit later into the endgame. But Singularity Order is kind of a one-time completion little checklist that you'll be needing to do throughout the main story, and these modes increase in difficulty as you go along. Basically, just be getting these done as you are able to. The main quest will be telling you to get these done, so if you've been leveling up your character along the way, these shouldn't really be all too much of an issue, and if you clear them within the 10-minute time limit, you actually get bonus rewards in the form of elemental fruit choice chests, and these elemental fruits are going to be so useful in the end game. So getting a lot of this material is going to be very, very useful, as these are going to be used for leveling up your other characters' abilities once you get to those higher levels. Alongside this, you also have Singularity Chaos, which is where you can farm out artifacts for your different characters, as well as get a lot more elemental fruit. Now, for the artifacts here, you can actually select which ones you are wanting to get, and you can read a full description of all of the artifacts in the game currently, and the game itself also recommends what characters these artifacts should be used on. So for the most part, I'd recommend just going with what the game recommends you, but there is a very good just all-around set, which is called the Planetismal set, which basically is going to be giving you boosts whenever you cast your signature abilities, which you're going to be doing a lot. So getting a decent Planetismal set on every piece is going to be my main recommendation for artifacts, at least when you're in the early stages of the game. Obviously, there are going to be more focused artifacts focused around signature characters. For example, the Pact set is quite good for Estella, but the Planetismal set, I would say, is all around very, very good. And one of the best features in this game is that if you have one artifact type, so let's say you have a full set of Planetismal gear, you don't need to farm out an entire new set of Planetismal gear for every character. You can instead just use the same artifacts on all of your available characters, which is absolutely amazing. So I'd recommend farming out one good Planetismal set once you get completed with the main campaign, and then equip that basically on every character until you start farming out for more specific artifacts. Now, one tip tip for the end game, once you start getting some good mythic or definitely some exotic rarity artifacts, if you actually look, each of these artifacts comes with their own set of substats. Now for these leftmost artifacts, these are mainly defensive focused boosts, but then the rightmost are offensive focused. Now me personally, I'm not really worried about what defensive boosts I get, as long as I have some high stat defensive boosts, I'm all around happy. The main worry comes with the offensive boosts, because as you can see you have things like Solar Boost and Super Boost, which are very useful on a Stellar due to her Super being the main source of her damage and Solar boosting up all of her solar damage, which she does a lot of. But as you can see, you can also get Void and Arc boost on these artifacts, which is going to be quite a waste, so making sure that you have the right substats on these offensive artifacts is going to be way more important. Also, once you find an artifact that you like, you can go over to Modify here. Under the Enhancement tab, this is where you can boost the overall level of your artifact, but then under Refraction here, this is where you can boost your substats. And the cool thing is, once you refract, you can see your current substats and then the newer substats that you get if you go ahead with the refraction. But if you don't like the new stats, you can just keep the old ones, but the materials will not be refunded, so keep that in mind. But the more materials that you use, the more luck you will boost, meaning the more times you do this, the higher chance you have of getting actual good boosts to your different substats. And then finally you have attribute transfer, which is where you can transfer the attributes of one artifact onto another. So let's just go through this real quick. Let's find a set of attributes that we actually like. Let's just go with this: Void Boost, Super Boost, and Damage Bonus Boost. This will be on this artifact now instead of my Ability Strength, Art Boost, and Signature Boost. So if I transfer that, material can be used to transfer as a high. Yep, so just hit confirm, and then your new boosts get replaced onto that specific artifact, as you can see here. So that's a way of you changing the different substats on your specific artifacts. But one very big tip that I have for new players is if you come to the store, there are actually bundles of free artifacts that you can actually claim for just Glimmer. Now I don't know if I have a clip of this. If I do, I'll throw it up on screen now. But basically there are artifacts that you will get for just spending Glimmer, which is a currency you'll have a lot of, and this will give you artifacts at every 10 levels, I believe. So you'll get artifacts at, like, I believe it caps out at level team 60, so just be getting these as soon as you possibly can, because it's going to be helping you greatly get through the main roadblocks of leveling up different characters, and it's also going to save you a whole lot of time. But once you run out of these bundles, doing those Realm of the Nine activities is going to be the main way that you grab those different artifacts. Now alongside that, you'll later also get Gauntlet Ops, which is where you can get some pretty decent legendary and maybe mythic weapons if you're at a high enough tier level, and you also have a low chance of getting some exotics, but I really wouldn't worry about farming out for exotics until you get to team level 80, because once you get to that, then these exotics will be set at near enough the highest power level, because if you get an exotic that's like really low level, you don't have to spend a lot of currencies in order to then level that weapon up, which is going to be honestly just a waste of materials. You're much better just waiting until you can get a exotic at around level 70, so then you only need to spend a small amount of materials to then boost that level up to 80. Alongside this, you're also going to be running into a material called Mythic Weapon Parameter, which if you come over to your main inventory screen here and go to Synthesize, you can just synthesize these into a load of different mythic weapons as long as you have 60 of them. So you need 60 for one mythic weapon, and you can see what mythic weapons you can potentially get. This is going to be mainly an end game tip here, but it's a great way to just get some different rolls of your weapons. And if you want to know what weapons can have on their specific perks, if you just click on a weapon and hit on traits, you can see all of the available trait options for a specific weapon. So look and see what rolls you're interested in getting before you actually spend some of this currency. Once you get a little bit later into the end game, you'll also be able to synthesize exotic weapons with exotic weapon parameters, and this is going to be very useful because you can actually just see what exotics are in each of the different loot pools and have a chance of getting them. And exotics are going to be a great way for boosting up your character's power level, so having at least one exotic on each of your different characters be at a decently high level is going to be a great way to just get some free power. Moving on to some of the other activities here inside of the casual playlist, this is where your fishing, Shadowshaper Duels card game, sparrow racing, and iron bar can be found. These are just little things to be doing on the side when you don't have Pinnacle Energy to spend, and by completing these every week, you'll actually get an item called Overclocked Capacitors, which is a way for you to spend more Pinnacle Energy on specific activities and get more rewards. This is basically going to be saving you a whole load of time, and so you don't need to be going into an activity and spending 20 Pinnacle Energy each time. You can spend maybe 40 at a time, which is going to drastically speed up your farming and just be a great overall benefit. Now, you can also purchase these from the store, but I really wouldn't recommend doing that, and it's not really needed if you're planning on going free to play, which you 100% can with this game. I, as of right now, have spent 0 money on the game and have pretty much most of the 5-star characters that I actually want, and have not really struggled with anything in the game so far, so do not feel like you need to spend any money if you do not want to. Other things that will be introduced to is shifting gates through the main campaign, which is the better version of Gambit really, and every week you can just play this mode for free and get a whole load of rewards with Pinnacle Energy. One of the rewards is going to be these translation credits, which can actually be exchanged for some pretty decent items, like these Mythic Infusion Core choice chests, or elemental fruits and other high quality character upgrading and weapon upgrading items, so it's definitely worth getting that done every week. Now, alongside that, Legendary Campaign will also unlock once you get the campaign mainly completed, and this is going to be a great way for you to get an item called Contextual Datasets. These are used for getting upgrades on your exotic weapon catalysts, and catalysts are going to be another great way for boosting your overall team level and character power level. Same thing goes for these exotic weapon infusion cores, as well as these superposed photons. So these are definitely going to be worth doing. Alongside that, you've also got just your general bounties. These are going to be a great way for you to get these exotic weapon parameters, which you can use to actually get your hands on exotic weapons, but then you'll also be introduced to frontline keycodes. These are things that can be spent on the main explorable areas in the game, those being at the moment Jiangxi Metro and the Red Sea Rift. If you head over to one of these locations, you will see that a portion of the map has like this purple like hash lines going through it, and this is where a frontline event will be taking place. And frontline events is where you can get mods for your different weapons, and at the higher tiers you can even get exotic mods, which are very much worth getting your hands on as just another way for boosting your overall power levels. And whilst we're on the topic of these different playable zones, there are actually key vendors that you can talk to. For example, here in Jiangxi Metro, you have Wu Ming, who if you talk to him, you can see he has his own reputation reward track, which you'll be progressing through as long as you're just doing things within the destination itself, through doing the daily missions, frontlines, public events, or even just collecting different collectible items that you can easily mark on your map. But if you're just going through these ranks, you're going to be getting a whole load of worthwhile rewards. So if you run out of Pinnacle Energy for the day, leveling up these reputation tracks on each of the different destinations is definitely going to be something worth doing. And if you want to easily spot the different collectible items, you can see here on the left hand side you have a whole list of different challenges you can do throughout the map, and just by clicking on one it will ping the location of those items in these specific regions. Now you've probably been noticing me mention boosting your power level a lot, and that is tied exclusively to your Acclaim rank, as this Acclaim rank is what gets unlocked once you complete the main story, and this Acclaim rank is going to be the main way that you progress through the end game. The main way you progress through this is by claiming exotic weapons as well as just claiming other characters. And you'll also notice that there are different challenges for each of these unique characters. So you'll see that you have bronze, silver and gold challenges that you'll need to complete, and by completing these you'll just be able to progress through your different Acclaim tiers more quickly. So as you can see, I'm currently capped at tier 14 because I do not have 3 silver medals yet. Once I get 3 silver medals, I'll be able to continue progressing through the different Acclaim ranks, and these Acclaim ranks unlock you huge benefits like unlocking more daily Iron Commander Ops authorizations, which is a way for you to just send out your characters to go and do Pinnacle Energy requiring activities for you rather than you having to do them yourselves. But then you'll also just get more rewards from different activities, as well as boosted drop chances for exotic mods and a whole load of other great end game boosting buffs here. So this is going to be the main thing you're doing in the end game so that you can just generally progress and get higher rarity loot. A very easy thing to do though in the end game is to get all of the different weapon foundries collected, because these are just for different mythic weapons, which you can easily get done via the synthesization system within your main menu. And then just some final tips that I have for you guys. If you head over to your main menu here, then go down into quests, you'll sometimes see that you have side quests available, and these side quests are very much worth doing, as one of them in particular will allow you to actually get the catalyst for the Sati Elixni Smart Bomb Grenade Launcher for your wolf, which is going to be boosting up your power level a lot, so be sure to pay attention to your different side quests. Alongside this, once you get characters to certain power levels, you'll be able to actually unlock their story quests, which do actually give you a whole load of free rewards, so these are definitely worth doing. Alongside that, just some tips for fishing here. If you want to be able to do fishing a whole lot, there is actually in the store a whole load of items that you can get for just fishing in general, like a whole load of bait as well as different fishing rods, as long as you have the currency needed, which is these angler tokens. And as long as you have fish, you can sell fish in order to get these angular tokens, meaning the more fishing that you are doing, the more fish you'll actually be able to do a lot later on. So just be sure to sell all your fish, and then every week come and claim all of these different fishing items, be it fishing rods, bait, or just item exchange generally. Because if you go over and start fishing, you'll see that you have fishing abilities here, as there is a whole fishing skill tree that you can level up. And if you see, you actually have a fishing level, and by going through each of these different levels, you'll be able to get free rewards as well as the items necessary in order to progress through your fishing skill tree. Alongside that, for the Shadowshaper Duels card game, you can match freely with other players online, but if you want to be leveling up your Shadowshaper's Duel rank quickly, if you actually go to Jiangxi Metro, there are a load of NPC characters here in the station area that will allow you to just battle them for a load of XP, so you'll be able to get to those higher Shadowshaper Duel card ranks and be able to get your hands on some higher rarity cards a lot easier. So be sure to check out each of those different NPC vendors to see which ones you can duel once you get to specific levels. And then the final thing that I have to mention is the black market. Once you complete the campaign, Drifter will have a side quest for you which will unlock the black market, which is where you'll be able to spend your black market coins, which is probably a currency you've been earning a lot through the main campaign or just through your clan. This is a currency that you can change for actual real life money, but you do earn a lot of it just through gameplay, so once again, not really necessary to do, but you do get a lot of items here. One of the main items that I recommend you spend your black market coins on are the elemental fruit choice chests, as you get a lot of these, and this is probably the most valuable material in the game currently. Also, he has a favor system, which is basically a reward track, meaning the more coins you spend, the more coins you get in return. And there are also black market bounties where you can exchange like planetary materials as well as other items for more favor as well as more black market coins. And with that said, that is it for my new player's guide here for Destiny Rising. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If I did miss anything that you guys would have liked to have known, be sure to leave a comment down below, and I'm sure that myself or anybody else in the know will be able to help you guys out. With that said though, that is everything for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Remember to check out the link in the description to download the free and ad-free Mumu Player emulator to play this game on PC. And with that all said, I'll see you all in the next one.